and welcome to IAMC Radio and Podcast. Today, March 22nd, let's explore some of the top news headlines.
Sounds good.
You know, you see a headline sometimes, and it really just sparks a whole chain of questions.
Yeah.
Like, take the situation with Momodou Taal at Cornell.
Right.
Here's a student who challenged some of President Trump's executive orders.
Okay.
Related to pro-Palestinian protests. And now he's facing deportation.
Wow.
What jumps out at you about this, and what might be some of the underlying currents here?
Well, what's fascinating to me when you consider Taal's case is the intersection of a few really potent areas. You have student activism, you have immigration status,
Right.
and you have the administration's response to dissent.
Yeah.
All kind of wrapped up in this one case.
Yeah.
So you have a student who is a citizen of the UK and Gambia on a student visa, actively engaging in political protest.
Right.
Which is certainly protected speech.
Okay.
His lawsuit aimed to prevent the government from targeting him and others involved in similar protests. Now, the fact that he was also temporarily suspended by Cornell for this participation, although allowed to study remotely, suggests the university itself was navigating a very, very complex situation.
Absolutely.
Then you add the element of potential deportation.
Right.
And the direct involvement of the Justice Department, asking him to surrender to ICE.
Yeah.
And it begs the question, to what extent can visa holders engage in political activities within the U.S. without jeopardizing their status?
Yeah.
It's really tricky.
It makes you think about the balance between freedom of speech and then the obligations that come with a student visa.
Absolutely.
And this isn't happening in a vacuum, is it?
Yeah.
We're also seeing President Trump withdrawing security clearances for several prominent Democratic opponents.
Yeah.
Former Vice President Harris, Secretaries Clinton and Blinken, Liz Cheney, and others have had their clearances revoked.
Right.
The rationale given is that it's no longer in the national interest for them to access classified information. When you see a move like this impacting such a wide range of individuals, what's the bigger picture we should be considering?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of how political power operates, I think the withdrawal of security clearances from prominent opposition figures is a very significant development.
Right.
While the stated reason is national interest,
Yeah.
you can't ignore the political optics.
Right.
And the potential chilling effect it might have on dissenting voices within the political establishment.
Right.
These are individuals who, by virtue of their former roles, would have historically been privy to sensitive intelligence.
Yeah.
Revoking these clearances is a powerful statement about trust
Yeah.
and who the current administration deems worthy of it.
Exactly.
And it also continues a trend we've seen, where security clearances become tools in partisan battles,
Yeah.
as evidenced by previous administrations revoking clearances of their political adversaries. So this begs the question, what are the long-term implications of normalizing this practice for the health of political discourse and the continuity of knowledge across administrations? That's the big question we need to consider.
Yeah. It does feel like a further entrenchment of partisan division for sure. Now, shifting gears entirely, let's look at Nigeria.
Okay.
There's a fascinating story about a man being sentenced for hawking new Naira notes,
Really?
3 months in jail, or a fine for selling the equivalent of about $550
Wow.
in local currency at an event. That seems quite strict. What's the background here?
Well, I think what's interesting here is the focus on the integrity of the national currency.
Okay.
The sentencing of this individual stems from a violation of Section 21(4) of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act, which explicitly prohibits the hawking or selling of Naira notes and coins.
Okay.
The EFCC, Nigeria's anti-corruption agency, made the arrest and pursued the prosecution. And this highlights a clear effort to crack down on what they see as abuse of the Naira. The fact that the recovered money was also ordered to be forfeited to the federal government underscores the seriousness with which this offense is being treated.
Okay.
Now, this wasn't an isolated incident. We've seen similar prosecutions and convictions recently in other parts of Nigeria. So I think it begs the question, what does it tell you about a nation's priorities when it so vigorously defends the handling of its physical currency?
Interesting. It certainly suggests a strong emphasis on financial regulation.
Yeah.
On a completely different note, out of Nigeria, we have former Minister of Education Obiageli Ezekwesili launching a very direct social media campaign calling the political class a criminal enterprise gang.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty strong language.
Yeah.
What's driving this level of public condemnation?
Well, if we consider the context of Nigerian politics, I think Ezekwesili's #30-day rant challenge reflects a very deep-seated frustration with the political establishment. Her use of such strong language, criminal enterprise gang, suggests a belief that the political class is actively working against the best interests of the Nigerian people by urging citizens to engage with similar bluntness and demand accountability.
Right.
She's tapping into a potential wellspring of public discontent.
Yeah.
So it begs the question, in a society where such strong accusations are being leveled against the political leadership, what are the potential pathways for citizens to effectively demand change and accountability? I think that's the real question here.
Yeah, it highlights the power of social media as a platform for dissent, that's for sure. Now let's turn our attention to the international stage, starting with the renewed conflict between Hamas and Israel.
Okay.
It seems a 2-month ceasefire was broken and we're seeing a significant escalation.
Wow.
What's the sequence of events here and what are the immediate consequences?
Well, what's crucial to understand here is the very rapid and tragic sequence of events. Following what Hamas claims was a breach of the ceasefire by Israel marked by a significant offensive in Gaza, Hamas retaliated by firing rockets at Tel Aviv. The reported casualties from the initial Israeli offensive are staggering. Over 400 Palestinians killed and many more injured, including a heartbreaking number of children.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's just awful. Hamas's response was to declare the Israeli actions a unilateral cancellation of the ceasefire.
Right.
This immediately drew condemnation from various world leaders and organizations, including China, Egypt, and the UN, all expressing grave concern over the renewed violence. What stands out to me is the speed at which a period of relative calm dissolved into intense conflict, really underscoring the fragility of such agreements in this deeply entrenched situation.
Absolutely, and we're hearing different accounts as to why the ceasefire ended. What's Israel's perspective on all of this?
Well, Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu has stated that Hamas's rejection of U.S. efforts to extend the ceasefire and release hostages necessitated the military action. This is a key point of contention. Directly contradicting Hamas's claim that Israel initiated the breakdown.
Right.
Adding another layer to this, the White House press secretary confirmed that President Trump was consulted about the Israeli strikes.
Interesting.
So it begs the question, how does the involvement or consultation of external powers influence the dynamics and potential for de-escalation in such a conflict?
Yeah, it certainly adds another layer of complexity. Moving to Africa, we have a historic moment in Namibia with the swearing in of their first female president, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah.
Wow, congratulations to her.
This follows an election that continues the ruling party's long hold on power.
Okay.
What are some of the key challenges and opportunities facing the new president?
Well, what's significant here is the breaking of a political barrier with Namibia's first female president. However, she takes office in a country facing considerable economic challenges, particularly high unemployment, especially among young people. Her pledge to increase investment in infrastructure and promote economic growth will be crucial in addressing these issues. The fact that the ruling party has maintained its grip on power for 35 years suggests both stability and potential challenges in terms of political diversity.
Right.
And the need for fresh perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this begs the question, how can a new leader effectively address long-standing socioeconomic issues within an established political framework?
Right. That's a critical point about balancing continuity and the need for change. Over in South America, Peru's Congress has taken decisive action by dismissing their interior minister due to a spike in violent crime, including the murder of a popular singer. This sounds like a situation where public pressure really forced a response.
Absolutely. The dismissal of Interior Minister Santibanez reflects a significant level of public concern and political pressure regarding citizen security. The murder of a popular singer whose band was reportedly being extorted likely served as a tipping point, highlighting the government's perceived inability to tackle the rising wave of crime. The fact that members of parliament voted for his removal, specifically citing this inability, underscores the gravity of the situation. Furthermore, the declaration of a state of emergency in the capital due to increased racketeering points to a deeper problem with organized crime.
Right.
So this situation makes you consider, when public safety deteriorates to this extent, what are the immediate and long-term consequences for a society's stability and trust in its institutions?
It paints a worrying picture of the challenges governments face in maintaining law and order.
Yeah.
Turning to Eastern Europe, the situation in Ukraine remains incredibly tense.
Oh, yeah.
We're hearing about a Russian drone strike killing a family just before ceasefire talks were scheduled with the U.S.
Oh, no.
That's a chilling development.
It is a chilling development, and it underscores the brutal realities of this ongoing conflict.
Yeah.
The reported Russian drone strike in Zaporizhia, taking the lives of a family on the very eve of scheduled ceasefire talks with the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, is a stark reminder of the human cost of this war.
Right.
And the fragility of any diplomatic efforts.
Yeah.
The subsequent reports of a large Russian drone barrage across Ukraine overnight further exacerbate the situation. While Russia had previously rejected a complete ceasefire but proposed halting attacks on energy sites, Ukraine views this latest incident as a clear violation.
Right.
So this sequence of events raises a critical question. How can meaningful diplomatic progress be achieved when such acts of violence continue, seemingly undermining any efforts towards de-escalation? It's really, really hard to see.
It feels like a constant cycle of violence hindering any path towards peace.
Yes.
Finally, in news that has resonated beyond the sports world, we've learned of the passing of boxing legend George Foreman. He was 76.
Oh, wow.
What are some of the key highlights of his remarkable life and career?
Well, George Foreman, Big George, was truly a monumental figure in boxing.
Right.
His career spanned decades and was marked by some incredible achievements. Winning Olympic gold in 1968 was just the beginning.
Wow.
He went on to become a two-time world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
A feat made even more remarkable by his second title win at the age of 45, making him the oldest ever to hold the crown at that time.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. His professional record of 76 wins with an astounding 68 knockouts speaks to his power and dominance in the ring.
Yeah.
But beyond his victories, he was part of some of the most iconic moments in boxing history.
Right.
None more so than the rumble in the jungle against Muhammad Ali.
Absolutely.
What's also fascinating about Foreman's story is his successful reinvention as an entrepreneur after retiring from boxing.
Yeah.
With the George Foreman Grill becoming a household name and a testament to his business acumen. His life is a powerful example of perseverance.
Right.
And the ability to achieve success in vastly different fields.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. A true legend, both in and out of the ring. His impact is undeniable.
Well, that brings us to the end of our exploration of today's top news headlines. It's certainly a lot to process, highlighting the complexities and challenges across the globe.
It is. It is crucial to stay informed and consider the various layers and implications of these events as they unfold.
Thank you for listening to the Today's Top News Headlines on IAMC Radio and Podcast.